Alrighty, we are going to start the next lesson in our quadratics unit, which this lesson is going to be on completing the square. So first, let's just remember how we put an equation in vertex form. So if this is currently in standard form, and now I'm going to put it into vertex form. So in order to do this, I'm going to take this -4 and bring it to the other side. So when I do that, the opposite of minusing 4 is to add 4. So then I would get y plus 4, and I'm going to put a box on that side, equals x squared minus 4x plus a box. Now the number that goes inside the box, we take the value of b, which is the number next to x, -4, divided by 2, which is -2, then square it, and that is 4. So 4 goes inside each of these boxes. Now I have y plus 8 equals. Now I'm factoring this. The trick to factoring is I know it's going to be two identical factors. I'm breaking up x squared into x and x. And then -4, which is the value of b, divided by 2 is -2. And now I don't want this 8 here. I want to bring it to the other side because I want this equation to be y equals. So I'm going to subtract 8. And I will get y equals x minus 2 squared minus 8. And what is our vertex here? The vertex is the number inside the parentheses, you switch it, so it becomes +2, comma, -8. And that is our vertex. Alrighty, so today we are going to learn how do we solve quadratic equations by using the completing the square method. So let's look into this. We are going to use our inverse operations to bring the c value to the right side of the equation. So we're not going to want it to equal 0, we're going to want it to equal whatever the c value is. Then we're going to find half of the b value, square it, and add that to both sides of the equation. So that's going to be the plus the square that we add to both sides. Then we're going to factor the left side of the equation. This will end up looking like parentheses x, it's either plus or minus, whatever b divided by 2 is, and then you square that. And then we solve for x using the square root method. Alright, this is a quick example if you want to look through this example. Well, let's get started on an example of our own. So, when solving the equation blah 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 by completing the square, which is a step in the process? Okay, first I know I need my constant on the other side. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides, and I will get x squared minus 8x. I know they said we're completing the square, so that means I'm going to do plus a box on each side, equals 7 plus a square. Now the number that goes inside the square, you do b squared, b divided by 2 squared, so -8 divided by 2 is -4, and -4 squared is 16. Alright, so now 7 plus 16 is 23, which means I can get rid of both of these that are in 23, and then inside the parentheses would be x. You take b divided by 2, which would make it -4. So it is choice number 2. Alright, let's look at this next one. Which step can be used when solving by completing the square? Alright, first step I'm going to add that 25 to both sides. So I will get x squared minus 6x plus a box equals 25 plus a box. And now which number goes inside the box? B, which is -6, divided by 2 is -3, and -3 squared is 9. It would be answer choice 1. I know my answer wouldn't be choice 2 or 4 because I can never be subtracting a number from both sides. I'm always adding a number to both sides. Alright, let's look at this one. What is a step? Alright, first add that 13. I will get x squared minus 10x plus a box equals 13 plus a box. Now the number that goes inside the box is b. b is 10 here. -10, -10 divided by 2 is -5, and -5 squared is 25. Alright, 13 plus 25 is 38. And now what do we get? We get x squared, and the number inside the parentheses is b, which is -10 divided by 2, which is -5. So it would be choice 1. Alright, let's finally get into solving some of these. Okay. You take whatever c is, which is this positive 55, you bring it to the other side. So to subtract 55 from both sides, we will get x squared minus 16x plus a square equals negative 55 plus a square. Okay, now inside the square we do b. b is negative 16. Negative 16 divided by 2 is negative 8, and negative 8 squared is 64. Okay, so then we would get x minus 8 squared equals negative 55 plus 64 is 9. Okay, now when we are solving, we're trying to get that x by itself, so I need to get rid of that squared. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Now the square root of 9 is not just 3, it's a positive or a negative 3. Then I'm going to add 8 to both of these. So I will end up with x equals 8 plus or minus 3. So 8 plus 3 or 8 minus 3. And that means that my two answers here would be x is equal to 8 minus 3 is 5, and 8 plus 3 is 11. Nice job. Alright, let's look at this next one. Ooh, the c's already on the other side for me. So all I'm going to have to do is add a box to each side. Now what's going to go inside that box? B is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3. Bless me. And 3 squared is 9. Alright, so I'm going to end up with x plus 3 squared equals 68. Alright, now I take the square root of both sides. The square root of 68 is going to end up being a irrational number. So I'm going to see if I could simplify that by dividing it by my perfect squares. 68 divided by 64, 49, 36, 25, 16, 9, 4. Hey, 4 works, finally. 4 and 17. And then the square root of 4 is 2. And I want to get rid of that positive 3, so I'm going to subtract 3 to both sides, and I will end up with x equals negative 3 plus or minus 2 square root of 17. I cannot do negative 3 plus 2 because, or 2 plus negative 3, I cannot do that because they are not, one has the radical attached to it and one doesn't. So that is my final answer. The only time I would actually simplify that into a decimal is when they ask me to round to a certain amount. Alright, we do. Try this one, try this one. Don't just wait for me. First step is we take the positive 8, we bring it to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. I will get x squared minus 12x equals 17. Oh, I'm at 11. Sorry, I was definitely not doing math correctly. And now I'm going to add a box, a square, since this is going to be the square. Add the square to both sides. Inside the square, we do b. b is negative 12. Divided by 2, that's negative 6. And negative 6 squared is 36. So then we get x minus 6 squared. Now we take the square root of both sides, and we get x minus 6 equals plus or minus square root of 47. None of those perfect square numbers would divide by 47, so we're just going to have to leave it alone. Now we're going to add 6 to both sides, and we will get x is equal to 6 plus or minus the square root of 47. And we are allowed to leave it just like that. And let's look at this next one, last one, you do problem. Alright, pause the video and actually try this one on your own. Add 12 to both sides. We will get p squared plus 14p plus a square equals 38 plus a squared. Now b is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 7 squared is 49. So we will get p plus 7 squared equals 38 plus 49 is 87. Now we're going to try to take the square root of both sides. So we'll get p plus 7 equals plus or minus the square root of 87. Square root of 87 does not work. Let's see if any of the perfect numbers work. 87 divided by 64, 16. I didn't type that in correctly. 4, no. No, none of them are going to work. So we're just going to subtract the 7 from both sides and leave it as negative 7 plus or minus the square root of 87. And that concludes our lesson on solving quadratic equations using completing the square. And this works anytime we have a equal to 1.